Hey, Cats Creations members, I wanted to say welcome. I'm working on a custom order, so I thought I would just film this. This way you guys get an extra tutorial, and you also get an opportunity to see me work on a custom order. So if you're not used to these types of videos, then what you'll want to make sure that you do, trying to make sure that I'm in here, hang on just 1 second, there we go. Make sure that you click the like and follow button. That gives you the opportunity, hang on just 1 second, close that down. Make sure you click the like and follow button. That way you get notified whenever I'm going live. So this particular customer wanted a country cherry wreath. Colors for this that she requested is beige, white, and red, obviously. So what it was is I worked with Pam at Personalize It by Pam to create a little bit more of a rustic sign for this particular design. So this is a 10-inch round. We're going to be using this on a 14-inch Dollar Tree wreath frame, which I've already gone and done all 6 sections. So what you'll see is you have in each section a grand total of 3. You have 1 in the middle of each section using your weld marks as your indicator to kind of find a midway point. You're going to wire together the 2 innermost rings, and then you're also going to use your center plus a weld to find a midway point and wire together the outside 2. This way it gives you a grand total of, let me think, 6 on the inside, 12 to the outside, grand total of 18 altogether. And we are using, because the customer wants more of a rustic country look, we're using this jute and cream burlap. These are all cut to 20-inch pieces. So I am going to take these and we're going to ruffle these because we have a lot that is going on this wreath besides, you know, our bow and ribbon tails, half bows. I'm thinking on this particular design we might put 2 ribbons. So with that, I'm going to complete the inside 6. So as I get these done, we're just going to remove these from the center. So this is like a bonus tutorial this week for you guys. So there's our inside 1. So ruffles are super simple. You're just going to, with this one it's really nice because you're going to just follow the midway border. So you're just going to keep your fingers pulling and pleating that mesh towards you like this. And then you're going to be taking the finished edges. You're going to be placing those to the inside. So always, you know, pointing towards the center. We're going to give it 2 twists. Because this mesh is a jute burlap, you cannot use a wood burning tool on it. So you're going to probably see some frays from time to time, which is totally normal. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these forward. Happy Monday to those of you that are joining this unexpected live. So just like that. And you're going to see that we're going to pop more of the red and the cream on this particular design. I want to open this one up all the way so that it's filling up the total gap there. So always make sure we've got our pipe cleaners facing the outside. Hi Brenda, how are you? I haven't heard from you in a long time. I've been thinking about you. So welcome, welcome. I hope everything is going well for you. So I think this week I'm going to be squeezing in some unexpected lives as I complete these custom orders. I had an order for 3 Mother's Day wreaths. So with this, it gives you an opportunity to see some custom designs. I'm so glad to hear that, Brenda. So hi, Susan. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Donna. Hi, Claudia. Hi, Gail. I always try not to bother you because I always think that Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays you're working. But I was prepping all my material because I wanted to make sure this got out in time for Mother's Day. And I forgot that, like, not this Sunday, but next Sunday is Mother's Day, which is kind of crazy. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Shiona. Hi, Gladys. Hi, Sunny. Hi, Darla. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Lynetta. How are you? So if you're going to add more than one bow on your wreath, you're probably going to want to use a ruffle technique for it, just because it'll make sure that you have, you're not fighting curls in a cruffle method. Hi, Kim. Hi, Maureen. Hi, Carol. Hi, Suzanne. So if you like this design and you're thinking that maybe this would be a nice design for you, you can go ahead and click the share button below. That will share this to your page. So once you have all your materials, all you have to do is go to your page and pull up this tutorial. So remember, our middle one goes to cover the gap in between. So we always want to make sure we're opening these all the way up so that they're providing good complete coverage. Okay, so we've got this one that's kind of hiding underneath. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Phyllis. Hi, Nancy. How are you guys doing for Monday? Trying to stay busy, trying to stay productive. I know that this is going to be a busy week for us. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to get these done and then had plenty of time to make sure that the quality is there. So I really love using the jute and the cream burlap. You can generally find it at Craft Outlet, but this particular color has been sold out for a while. Why? Because it's a very universal color that you can use pretty much on just about any design, especially if you're going a little bit more rustic. So I'll make sure these are open to their full extent. Pull this one around. I'm not going to worry about the inside one just yet, but like this one under here, it's kind of folded up under itself. So I want to make sure they're kind of laying side by side. Nice, Gail. You were home by 12:30. Uh-oh. And you said you were going to call, but you had a mishap with your tooth. What is going on? I hate when those things happen. So it's official. The private group open enrollment is officially closed, and it'll probably remain that way until just before the end of summer, possibly. So, what is open right now? The Wreath of the Month group has now opened, which is a low price point, but you still get all the discounts from all of our vendors without paying anything more. And you just focus on one design each month. And then we do a virtual class. It's basically like on a Thursday in the middle of every month. And we basically just take our time and walk through putting together the entire design one step at a time. So it's a really good opportunity for you to work alongside me on a particular design. You can ask a ton of questions about anything pertaining to the design. It's a really good class for people who just want to go much slower in a smaller group setting. Hi Sue, hi Lily, hi Deborah, hi Diane, good afternoon to you too. We're going to get a little bit of a warm up here in California. We've kind of had some, I guess you'd call it perfect weather. It's been windy here in the high desert, but temperatures have been in the 70s, so that's been kind of dreamy. So make sure this one is all unfolded. See how they like to fold? So you want to be able to see no gaps in there. Hi Joy, hi Marty, hi Karen, hi Barbara, hi Debbie. Yes, Darla, the mesh is cut to 20-inch pieces. And it was weird on this one. My mesh came up an entire piece short for some reason. So I don't know what happened. It wasn't a full 30 yards. 30 yards? No, 10 yards, 30 feet. It came up short. So sometimes those leftover rolls that may have like enough for 1 or 2 pieces on it are so handy to have on hand, because those are enough for you to just reach in there, grab that, and get that 1 extra piece you need, and then you finally get rid of your leftovers. Okay. Hi Cindy, hi Estelle, hi Edie and Deborah and Dana. Welcome. The sign is from Personalize It by Pam. And I'm reading Gail's. She said she was, I'm guessing, making taco soup, counted out my scoop chips and broke my bottom molar crown. Oh, I hate when that happens. Really hate when that happens. Because then that's just a long, lengthy dental procedure. So I don't envy you. And I'm so careful now. I've kind of almost given up a lot of hard, crunchy foods just because as we get older, things don't last as long. Hi Carla, hi Margaret, hi Carol, hi Yolanda. Yes, Allie, can you believe it? I'm live. I was telling Steve, you know, a lot of times if I have custom orders, sometimes I'll just record those. So if we have something unexpected happen, we don't have to be without a live as it's expected. But I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and go live. I'm working on this custom order. I'm alone. Steve's working. So I thought, we can work on a wreath together. This is a new design. It's a new sign from Pam. hang that one in the middle. Okay, so we're doing our middle one now. 3 more pieces left. This is my tightest piece since it went on the inside. This is the last piece on the roll, which are always fun because they never want to lay flat. But I think I'm going to do double bow on this one. Sometimes if you go with a little bit smaller sign, you have that luxury of being able to do that. 2 more pieces and our base is complete. Hi Jo Helen, hi Mary, hi Teresa, hi Anna. At first I wasn't sure if I was going to like this with the rustic color, because it's like, my gut was initially like, pick red, you know, go with a nice red fabric mesh, or, and then I thought, you know what, I'm going to follow this one through, because there are some touches of beige. The farmer's market and cherries are all done in a little darker brown, so I thought, you know what, let's just follow the design, which sometimes, you know, we can second guess. Should I do that? Should I not? And I thought we'll just take a lot of white and red and pop that around the outside. So this just becomes a subtle country base. So I've got to get this one, which is all the way tucked right in here. Right in here. Squeezing in the last piece. Okay, so let's make sure we get full lengths of our mesh because they love to fold. So we're going to make sure that goes all the way out. Same thing here. We're going to pull down our interior colors. And then you've got a really nice flat base. So the total diameter on this right now is 24 inches. So let's see what we have for our ribbon colors. So of course, looking at the sign, you're going to automatically pick the gingham. I chose to go gingham in the 2.5 inch, and then we're going to do the red, I guess you'd call it red and white striped with white polka dot ribbons. Where'd they all come from? Let's see. The gingham is from Craft Outlet, and so is this heavier duty canvas. These are all going to be cut to 14-inch pieces. We are going to line the outside with these alternating colors. So you're just going to go ahead and place those right inside and fan them out. And then this is where we're going to start to introduce those pops of red. And the gingham doesn't have, the material is not as thick as the canvas, so it's a little bit softer. But I think if we come in and add a heavier duty 1.5 inches to the top, it's going to create some nice stability here. It'll cause it to lay flat. It'll give it some weight. Hi, Bonnie. Anna, thank you for the stars. Jacqueline, welcome. Oh, you're lucky, Gail. She says her dental office actually makes the crowns. That is so nice. It's like an all-in-one stop shop. But it still puts a damper on your schedule, having to deal with something you weren't planning on dealing with. Okay. So as you can see, I'm pulling back both of those sections, one for the gingham and then the other. for the striped. So a little bit of stripes, checkers, dots. This would have even looked really nice with a Swiss dot, like a red Swiss dot. Hi Karen, hi Cheryl, welcome. Been wanting to do a cherry wreath for a while. Did you know that cherries are natural antioxidants and anti-inflammatories? So if you have issues with a lot of inflammation, cherries work wonders naturally. I'm so excited to see this one all put together. I know the client is super excited. And sometimes it's nice giving them a little extra special bonus and give them the video so they can have that as a lasting reminder of watching it all be put together from the ground up. Hi, Diana. Yeah, Allie, I decided just to do something fun. And for those of you that are in the private group, don't forget I just uploaded the worksheet for our Etsy training today. So it's probably going to be beneficial for you to download that before our training tonight. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Kathy. How are you? She says, I went to the doctor and in a boot, non-weight bearing, 2 more weeks. Ugh, not good. So does that mean you're basically, you can't walk on it? Is my understanding correct? Hi, Dawn. Yeah, I like the way the two-tone mesh looks, especially pulling in the lighter colors. At first I was like, because when I paired it with the sign, I think it's because the gingham just stood out so much. I wasn't sure it was going to work. And then I was like, well, we can draw the eye out if we go with a bigger gingham, because originally I was going to do 1.5 inches. And then I chose to do 2.5 inches. There's that. Last piece for the 1.5 inches. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Linda. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Sheila. Yes, this mesh is super nice. So it's weird. Craft Outlet sells 2 different types. You want to make sure you're not getting the one with the XB. XB is a lot thinner. Okay, so there's the last of that. So 1.5 inches now. I chose to go with a solid red in the 1.5 inches. And I think I'm going to place that. I'm trying to figure out, this was my dilemma, is which one's going to go on which. And I think I want the solid red on the stripe. Because see, when I take the cherry and put the cherry on top, it kind of like, it feels like you're fighting. The white is just like fighting. But if you put it on the gingham, which kind of pairs well with the sign, it looks a little better. And then the solid red will help tone all that busyness of the stripes down. So the 1.5 inches are both cut to 19-inch pieces. And what we're going to do, it's called half bows. So we're going to place this all the way around the outside. And I'm going to go ahead and pull the ends off. once they're complete, I'm going to take this and tuck this completely around the back. And then we're going to open them up and right side one of our tails. And this is a heavier canvas that's going to go on top of that polka dot. So it'll kind of introduce a little bit more red in here. And then we're going to do the cherries on the gingham. So ribbon, where did it come from? The red 1.5 inches was from Joann's a couple years ago, when you could buy, you know, when you had solid colors that always sat in big, huge rolls. I think that was a 50-foot roll. So I'm just about finished with that roll. So there's that. And then this thicker canvas is going to help that gingham lay a lot nicer. And then the cherry is from Craft Outlet, if they have any available. Thanks, Darla. I like this mesh too. Hi, Donna. Good afternoon. So always trying to get that one to lay flat. And then you don't want to hide any of that really pretty ribbon that you have. So we're trying to showcase it all. And we'll put the cherries on top. Just like cherries should be on top. Hi Jen, hi Audrey. Yeah, I decided to go live. Normally I just sit in the kitchen and I just make this by myself. And I was like, oh, I could just grab my camera and give you guys a bonus, a Monday bonus. So this should go fairly quick. I don't have any embellishments that are going on this design, but I think we're going to do a double bow. We'll see. I'm thinking it needs a double bow. Hi Julianne, hi Maria. Right, Dawn? The ribbons are picking up the sign. So you can order this. It's a 10-inch round from Personalize It by Pam on Etsy. If you guys like this sign, you'll see it right on her homepage. If you guys want to order it. There we go. Spin it around. It's like they're done in pairs. Hi Alice. Hi Athena. So the 2.5-inch ribbon is cut to 14-inch pieces, and the 1.5 inch is cut to 19-inch pieces. And that's because I like them all to end at the same spot. I think when I was doing 18, they were coming up just under, like shorter than the 2.5 inch. And so when I cut them to 19 inches, when you go to open them up, they kind of end right where the 2.5 does. So I'm a little bit happier with those results. Hi Tara. Hi Darlene. Right, Valerie? It's nice when you can give the customer an extra bonus. A lot of times if I've done a wreath that sells and I know I've done it as a live recording, I'll include the link so they can see it being put together, which is always nice. And this is a really nice canvas ribbon as well. So we're putting our cherries on top of that one. Let's do it here and place it on top there. Hi, Annette. Hi, Missy. Hi, Bonnie. Thank you. I'm excited to see how this is going to look. Especially when you're working on a custom order, because there's no picture for the customer to send you as a reference. So you're just taking clues, sending pictures back and forth, making sure that you're kind of both on the same page with what they want and what they had hoped for. Hi, Trudy. Hi, Rita. Hi, Rose. Hi, Lois. Welcome. Happy Monday, everyone. Couple more. And we'll make sure our cherry goes on top of this one. It's a nice accent. So these are what I call 3D awareness bows. They're kind of like the awareness ribbons you see for all the causes. So you're kind of creating those as a 3D effect on the top. So I had thought about putting some artificial cherries on here, but what I wanted was bunches of cherries, and I'm not seeing that. You either see like just the little fruit by itself, but I wanted them actually on the stem with the leaves, and I wasn't finding any. So I decided to do a double bow instead. One more to go. So I can't wait to take a photo of this, get this up so you guys can see what it looks like in a gorgeous sunny day. So it's gonna definitely make it feel very summery, very happy. I think red makes it happy, cheery. Last one in here. Okay, and then we will make our bow. I was so mad because it's like I made one and I really liked the ribbon I picked, but then I went to go grab it to make sure I had enough for the second one, and I would have had enough for the second one, but it was spliced right in the middle and it was a bad splice. So, not so good there. Okay, we are going to start with our heavier canvas because that's going to give some lift to that gingham. So, we're going to dovetail the ends, which is just putting that really gorgeous finished end on our ribbon, just like that. We're going to measure this out at 10 inches, and I'm going to use the bow dabra. So it's always going to be about the twist. So we twist it right at the 10-inch mark. Then we're working with the back side of the fabric, and we want the 2.5 inch loops to average 5.5 inches. So that's perfect right there. We'll put another 5.5 inches on the other side. Carefully measuring. It's like a well-crafted recipe. right here. So dovetail is just taking the wired ends, putting those together, and then you're going to cut on the folded side to the wired point. And the deeper you come up on your fold, the deeper your V is. And I like them to have a fairly deep V. And then we're going to do our gingham. So when I'm dealing with thinner ribbon with not as thick of a wire on the outside, I have a tendency of using butter scissors because I want the cuts to be perfect. And sometimes the Dollar Tree scissors, which are great for most of the ribbon, it just slides the ribbon between the blades. So this is going to be a 9.5-inch tail with a 5-inch loop. So we're going to come down a 1/2 inch. Careful measuring. And then the same on the other side. Let's make sure we're at the 5, which we are. And then we're going to go back out to 9.5 inches. And then put our dovetail edge on the end. There you go. Okay, then we are going to do a red and white ticking, which is very country farmhouse. We're going to follow that up with our solid red. Then we're going to introduce some of the beige and white. So that's introducing our mesh color back into the bow. And then we're going to finish it off with our cherry on top. So the black and white ticking is from Craft Outlet, and it is super thick. Probably one of the thickest ribbons that I have seen to date. So I want to use my Dollar Tree scissors so I don't dull the blades on the other one. This is going to be 9 inches for the tail length, and our loop length is going to be 4.5 inches for our loop. So let me set that down. Make sure we got 4.5, 4.5 on the other side. Oh, it's a little closer to 5. There we go. And then back out to 9 inches and put our finished end on here. There we go. And I think ticking comes in navy blue, black, and red right now. So it's a good ribbon to have on hand if you're going country in any of your designs. Thanks, Dawn. She says, I like watching you when I'm wide awake. I know, right? You can go late on Sundays. Okay, so this one's going to be 8.5 inches. And we're going to do the same. We're going to do 4.5 inches on the loop length, and this is slowly running this ribbon out. Trying to pull it from the spool so it doesn't pull from the loop I already have. And then 8.5 out. Almost done. This was 125 feet. And this was back in 2019 from Joann's. So barely any left on there. I was kind of hoping I'd run it all out, but it's not the case. Hi, Tracy. I love the red, Kathy. She said red is her favorite color. Allie says do the tails from the 1.5 inches does the tail come up longer than the 2.5 or same? So the tails on the 1.5 inch, when we're adding them to the outside, they come up the same. They might just be like, it depends on how it's sitting in the ribbon. Like I might not have it in there exactly perfect. So it might just look like it's longer on one side than the other. I try to get them in there as even as I can. So on this one, the ribbon length is 8 inches for the tail, and the loop length is just going to be 4 inches for our beige. So always coming back and measuring. And then 8 inches out. Right in here. Do our finished edge. And right, Dawn, the angel for 2022. Actually, it sold this morning. So she's gone. So it's a good color blend. No worries, Tracy. It goes to replay right after I finish this live, so you'll be able to catch it at any point. If you needed it and you can't find it, you can always go to my YouTube channel at KatsCreationsNMore, and you can find all of my public lives there. Sometimes those can get easy, hard to find on my page. The last one is set for 7.5 inches for the tail length and 3.5 inches for our loop length. Just making sure 7.5. It's right in between these two. Love the cherry. I think it comes on natural, but I like it on the white a little bit better, because if you're choosing to use it on something that doesn't have the beige in it, it can interfere with your other design if you don't have any beige in it. So we're going to get our pipe cleaner ready. We're going to pick up the whole stack. You're just going to place that pipe cleaner right in between and hold it tight against the bottom of all your ribbon. Give it quite a few twists so there's no way it's going to come undone. Now we're going to fluff this out. So let's see if we can get a really gorgeous bow. Okay, so now we are going to fluff this. So we're starting from the bottom, and you're going to pull loop. This is also a good time to straighten out any, like if there's a bend in your ribbon, you can go ahead and fix that before you get to the top. So loop and tail, go to the other side. We're going to put our loop and tail opposite so that tails are the same, directly across from each other, and so are the loops. And then we're going to do the same. We're going to pull our, going to go this way. This is actually supposed to go there. Here's our loop for the gingham. Here's the tail. We're going to leave our tail here. Bring it over to the side, and here's our loop. So now they're alternating the colors as we bring them down. So here we have our ticking. Go across. We're going to pull the loop. And here's that. We're going to go with our red. And then red here. I'm going to try to right side this one. Sometimes they get pinched. And then we're going to go our beige. and the beige and the cherry. And our cherry. And this one's kind of coming up a little bit short. Sometimes they get, like when you're tightening it, sometimes they can slip. So now I'm going to pull the cherries up. Generally what I do is 2 on one side and then grab the 2 on the other. Okay, here's our tails for both. Okay, then we're going to go grab the 2 on the other end. Here's our ticking and our red. So we have our ticking and our red. And then we're going to pull the gingham up, move it over if you want to rearrange the way certain things look as you're looking down on your ribbon stack. Move this one over. Move that over. There we go. Now we can just rearrange some of those. To put the curl back in, you're just going to use your fingers like curling ribbon. You're just going to run them through your fingers. It's a little harder to do the stuck on the bottom, but there is our gorgeous bow. And you can have that lay any way you want. Sometimes I'll see people try to, put some of their tails in here. That's fine. You might need to cut them back a little bit if they go a little too long. Like I don't like my tails to be longer than the loops if they're going to intermix with your bows. But that's entirely up to you. But there is our bow. And we're going to slide that off the same way. Trying to figure out how did I put that on. There we go. That's all ready to go. Let's go ahead and bring our wreath over, just like this. And let's grab our metal hole punch and some of our wire. So we are going to place our sign right here. Isn't that so pretty? Doesn't that look so festive and summery? And then we're gonna put one of our bows I'm just rearranging my tails. I like this one a little bit better. So I think we're gonna put one here in the upper left. It'll lay flat once I can get my curls down. And then we're going to put one down here at the bottom. I already have that one done. I'm just going to redirect these. Since we have a bottom bow, means we want to pull all of our tails to one side so that they're all where they need to be. So we're just going to reconfigure this. So right now I'm just bringing all the tails to the bottom. So I have to just kind of find out, okay, did that go under that one? I need to bring that through. This went under that loop. And this one went over this loop. Okay. So all I'm doing is moving my tails down. Tails down. So this one is going to go down here at the bottom, just like that. So we have some gorgeous double bow. So that's the game plan. So we need to attach the sign first. So I'm going to set this one here. This one up here, because they both have different characteristics. We're going to go right to the middle, which is right here on this pink and red with the metal hole punch. This is a beadsmith 1.5 millimeter. And we're going to use floral wire to get us through that jute burlap. Don't need a lot. That one. Move those off to the side. I'm actually going to be building this from the back. So we're going through the top. And then what I talk about building it on the back is so that when you build the wire on a small base, it will lay flat so it doesn't look like a spinner where you have your wire off to the side. Meaning it's not out this way, it's actually built on the back. So that makes the sign lay flat. So we're building it right over the hole. Okay. So we're going to take this and it's going to plop right in the center. The first thing I want to do is pull some of my mesh away from the center. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down. Because remember, we talk about feathering the edge of our sign. So we don't just see a solid round sign. So I'm kind of pulling these up. I'm going to move this over where I want it to go, about the depth I need it to be, and just do like a twist and a half so that we can go over to this side and do the exact same thing. So I'm just grabbing the mesh that's going to be right here in the front so that we're going down to our frame. We don't want to go too deep because you don't want it to look like you just smashed the sign inside. And there we go. Kind of pushing this up. Let me move this one up just a little bit higher. I want it to sit more right in the middle than towards the bottom right. So right about there is a good depth. And the mesh is what's kind of giving it some buoyancy, keeping it from going all the way down to the frame. So we're going to do what's called feathering the edge, which is just taking your mesh that we had right here along the edge. This one's going to go under because that's part of our inside. So feather. Right in here. We're going to do the same up here along the edge. So just lightly kind of softening that edge all the way around. Okay, then right here, right where our bow is going to go, we need to make sure that some of this stuff is not going to pose what's called a floating challenge. So I'm just going to push my mesh down. I'm going to grab my bow that's going to go in this general area. Need to get my pipe cleaner and kind of lay this out right where I want it to go. Not impacting the farmers, not impacting the market. A little bit more towards the outside than right over the sign. And we're going to feed this down. We're going to attempt to feed it down right where we want it to stop. Trying to find my frame. And move those little threads that get caught up on your pipe cleaner. So this is where this one's going to sit. Give your ribbon some life. I'm going to pull all these down. Picking and choosing what colors I want to line up where. Just like that. There's that one. And then I think we're gonna kind of go right about in this general area. So I'm gonna do the same thing. This way it'll elevate our sign. You can see it's already bringing that up. We're gonna grab our bow. And this one. Gonna kind of sit down in here, a little bit more off to the side. It's got a lot of mesh to go through with one pipe cleaner. There's one. Let's find the other one. This is why I love floral wire, because it doesn't allow the fibers and the mesh to get in the way. So just like this, I'm going to bring these down so we have our little cherry right in here. And we'll make sure all the ones around the edge that sometimes are impacted while we're fussing with everything so much aren't in the way. Just like so. Trying to bring these around. There we go. So this will open. What do you guys think? Beverly, you asked me a question about my friend with the bow board. I will forward you his information on, and then you guys could talk about what you want, and then he can quote you a price. Keep in mind that lumber prices right now are extraordinarily high. So I don't know what your budget's like and what you might want. Like I was really adamant I wanted the dark wood in my bow board. I think I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move this one up. So we have two different colors represented here. There we go. So we can still see all the colors. And there you go. Just like that, we have created the design, making sure everything is perfect. And there you guys go. What do you think? I'm thinking, we'll look at something really quick. Let me look at something real quick. Let me do 2 at 14. Just looking at something. Because I kind of want to minimize these areas a little bit. Like cut the tan a bit. So let me try something. Let me look. Let's go 19 here. I just want to try one other thing, something new, something different. Just to cut that beige a bit. So I'm going to try to make a shorter, thinner tail and half bow. So I'm thinking hang tight. I'm thinking what I might want to do is just like right in here, right where my half bow or my pipe cleaner would have gone. Let me look at something. Here's the thing with going with a smaller sign is sometimes you have more space than you might like to work with. So I'm going to try something. So hang tight. I'm just working against the ruffles right here. So give me just 1 second while I put that in. So then I could actually maneuver this around. Let me see. Sometimes we can give it just enough. Actually, I should have had it go the other way so that it gives me something to work with. So I'm going to leave it come up over the bottom. And I didn't want to do that. I needed this to be on the top. Let me do it this way. It's being challenging because there's so much deco mesh to deal with, but let me just create this, what I'm thinking. So now I can get anchored down. Basically all I did is I had removed one of my interior pipe cleaners, which I could have used had it still been there. So hang on, I'm just gonna secure this in so I can move this where I want it to go. So let me get rid of some of the excess mesh that's kind of backing up along here. Just like this. Sometimes it gets to be too much mesh. Like we don't want the interior ones to come up, just the exterior outside ones. So then it'll minimize how much we have to deal with up here. Let me spin this around. This is just the bane of my existence right now. This red just wants to curl the opposite way that I want it to. And I might even change that out, because I don't want it to impact my sign. Let me change that. Last minute design change. Okay, let me change this. What are you doing outside?
I put some of the air freshener in.
Okay, so let's go 1.5 inches. Let's see. This is still 14. Let's see if I can do this. Hang tight. Let me go get some more red ribbon. Sometimes you just need more than what is there. Okay, so we finally used all that, so there wasn't quite enough. So what I'm thinking is a double bow, which means they both have to be cut to 19 inches. Dovetail the ends. Then we're going to go half bow meets half bow. Okay. Half bow meets half bow. Pipe cleaner. Let's use red so it blends better on our ribbon. It's interesting making these when they're not secured in the wreath. So a double bow is when you take 2 half bows and you just create a loop with 2 color coordinating ends. And let's take this one back a bit and see if this will even work. If not, we might go shorter on the tail length. So in, they should correspond out like this. I gotta get one of my loops straight. This could actually trend right on the edge of the sign. So let me look. Let's fix these. Because we were I like that much, much, much better. See what I'm saying? It had this gap here. Right there. What do you guys think? And I think I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, Dawn. Pip berries, right? Right. definitely something you could definitely do. So yeah, you could do a couple different things. Like we could have went tails out this way, but then I think when you go vertical on top, it kind of looks different, like it's missing something. So I think we're all set. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Otherwise, I'm hoping I can get another one in possibly tomorrow. So make sure you're clicking like and follow so that you can be notified if I do an unexpected live like we did today. All right, everyone. Well, you have an exceptional, blessed day. And I, hopefully, will see all of you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.